Good day, everyone, especially to you, sir. I am Jaya Alexa Zainara. Together with me is Mr. Joshua Hangad Nikulan, and we are the first reporter of Group 3. And for the information of everybody, we are now in week 4 to 5 of our lesson. So for today's discussion, we are tasked to discuss about the arts during the Spanish period. So for today's lecture, we are about to define what is painting, tackle about the origin and importance of arts during the Spanish era, and talks about what kind of art we Filipino developed during Spanish colonization. And lastly, we will know who is the famous Filipino artist and its masterpiece, but we only choose three famous personalities for an example for our topic. So next we have painting. Painting is the practice of applying color, pigment, or other medium to a surface. It is also defined as the expression of ideas and emotion with the creation of certain aesthetic qualities. So that is painting. So next we have arts during the Spanish period. As we all know, the Spanish colonial period in the Philippines began in the year 1521 when explorer Ferdinand Magellan came to the island and claimed it as a colony for the Spanish Empire. With a cross and sword, the Spaniard extended their empire till 16th century. And if you would ask me unsa may labot sa art sa pag-colonize sa Spaniard diri sa Philippines, unsa may connect nila? Somehow they are connected because during the Spaniard colonization, they use art as a tool or visual aid for their religious propaganda to spread Catholicism throughout the Philippines. So, following the edict of King Philip the year King Philip II in the year 1573, and when we say edict, it is an official order or proclamation issued by a person in authority. King Philip II also was known to be the self-proclaimed protector of the Roman Catholic Church. He is the one who sought to limit the spread of Protestantism. And also, towns were established and the people who live in different places were brought together in impact communities. They are brought together as one community because this is the desired result of multiple strategy and efforts that King King Philip proclaimed para mas mapadali ang pag-colonize or pag-spread sa ilahang propaganda, which is Catholicism. So this is where church built at the center of the town plaza where several religious and symbolic images were kept. So adjacent to the church was the convent, the residence of the Spanish priest, the municipal hall, and the dwelling of important people. The architecture of churches, cathedrals, and civil buildings followed European models, and the construction were closely supervised by the Spaniard. During the Spaniard colonization, communication are the main problem. Of course, we Filipino way back then dili man ta kasabot sa language sa Spaniards, dili pud ta kabalo mo sulti sa ilahang language. So the Spaniards friars mao ni sila ang mga religious men sa Spaniards. They use images to explain the concept behind Catholicism and to tell the stories of Christ's life and passion. So images of the Holy Family and the saints were produced to the Filipino side through carved santos, the Via Crucis, or mao ni ang atong mga nahibalan as Station of the Cross. Engravings on stampas and estampitas and through paintings and carvings nga unya karon makita nato sa mga Catholic churches. Nakabutang ni sila sa mga walls sa Catholic churches. So during this time, the church was the primary patron of the arts. The making of artworks was under the supervision of the Spanish friars. Western models were provided for artists to copy. In effect, the Santos had beautiful Western features with high bridge, sharp noses. Most of the carved Santos were made of wood. Bone and ivory were also used in making the Santos, but only the rich people could afford to acquire these. So, the concept of patronage emerged this time. So, the Filipino artisans were commissioned and paid to carve, engrave, and paint. The Spaniards also replaced the arts that were once done in the communal spirit and community settings for rituals. So since most of the art produced during the first 2 centuries of the Spanish occupation were for the church, the friars enforced strict supervision over their production until the 19th century. Art was only for the church and religious uses lang jud, and also this their product for painting and carving is mga rich people lang jud ang maka-afford, because during that time mahal-mahal pa jud ang ilahang mga masterpiece. So the indigenous people living in remote areas were not influenced by the Spanish colonizers. Their art and craft were developed in isolation. This isolation preserved the native design of folk art. Their artistic skills were seen in woven blankets, mats, wood carving, baskets, and metal ornaments for their everyday needs. So, the indigenous people during these times living in the remote areas were not influenced by the Spanish colonizer. Their ethnic form or art form and or craft were retained and developed in isolation, because the Spanish friars were slowly introducing newer art forms or new forms of arts. Icons brought by the friars were used as models for sculpture, and Filipino artisans were taught by the Chinese to do brushwork technique in painting, and this time the engraving was also introduced to them. So these are the art styles that developed during the Spanish period. The the Byzantine, Gothic, Baroque, and Rococo art style, and most of these art style are religious or Catholic based only. So here is an example of Joseph Luciano dance artwork during Spanish period. In the Church of Paete, Laguna, one of the earliest recorded painters in the Philippines artwork history. His masterpiece is the Langit, Lupa at Impierno, or Heaven, Earth, and Hell. This is a 3-level painting which shows the Holy Trinity, Mary, the Mother of Christ, saints, and the 7 Blessed Sacrament, and the macabre depiction of hell. And the next slide will be reported by Mr. Joshua Hangad Niculan.
Good day, everyone. Aside from the artwork with religious themes in the Spanish period, art portraiture also gained importance in the 19th century with the rise of the middle class. So, just like in our generation, we take picture para mahibalan ay para ma-document kung unsa kadako og unsay naa sa ato ang family. And also, we take picture para mabutang nato sa atong wall para mahimo siyang design. And also, sa atong table. So, same lang sila sa 19th century, but ang ilang difference is, ang sa 19th century is, pag magpubuhat kag portrait is, need nimo magbayad sa isa ka artist para buhatan mo portrait sa imong family with your finery and luxurious living. So, ginapabuhat nila ni because they wanted to document ang ilang wealthy living. So, ginabuhat nila ni kay tungod kay gusto nila ma-document ilang wealthy living sa 19th century. And ang example ani is kaning Portrait of Crisamon Family by Simon Flores. So by the way mo ni si Simon Flores kaning sa PPT, and next is mo ni si Moning Crisamon Family. So Simon Flores painted this portrait in miniaturismo or miniaturist style. So ang miniaturist style is pays attention to the embroidery and the texture of the clothes of the subject. So as you can see in the picture, the small details of the clothes of the subject is very visible. Basi wala pa nato i-zoom is visible na daan ang ilahang ang ilang small details sa ilang sinina. Pag imo nang i-zoom is mas makita pa jud nimo ang mga pattern sa ilang gisuot. So mao na ang miniaturist style, and mao ni ang example sa art portraiture. So next slide. And when the post-war period saw the rapid rise and development in the Philippines, the establishment of art galleries introduced visual arts to the populace. So when we say art gallery, it is a room or a building full of arts na naga-consist of lahi-lahi nga artist. So nga pwede nato ma-tanaw. So sa ato ang diriya is nanatay historical. So mo ni siya ang example ang historical. So pag mo tag historical is makita tag different artwork and nga gibuhat sa different artists. So mo to siya ang example. Then Filipino artists, both the traditional and modern, enjoyed big sales of their artwork through one-man exhibition and group show. In one-man exhibition, it may be painting, drawing, collage, sculpture, and photography that is done with one artist, while the group show is an art exhibition that is made up of several artists na naga-consist of 2 to 20 artists. So ang example ani is sa Korea. Sa Korea kay na ay group show na ang isa ka painting is gitabangag tulo ka artist para mahuman. So mao na ang example sa group show. And ang reason why consumer buy the artwork of the artist because gusto nila i-design sa ilang house, and ang uban is imong investment, and napoy uban is para maka-help sa ilahang artist friends. Ug napoy uban na ma-amaze lang jud or ma-appreciate nila ang artwork sa isa ka artist, maong mopalit sila. And because ani is makaipon og funds ang artist para makabadayon sa ilahang ginabuhat na artwork. So that ends of our report. Thank you for listening.